Good afternoon, students. We are back with the live class of economics in our YouTube channel again for this week. I hope tumaluke bhale asa. I hope tumaluke amar YouTube ot already junbur live classes ase ba free classes ase hebilak tumaluke purhi sai asa aru tumaluke hebilakor pora upokrito hoboloi karone parisa. I hope you are being benefited with all the videos that has been already uploaded in our channel, which is free for everyone to view, and also I hope you everyone has benefited from all the live session that has been taking place since a long time. আমি লাইভ সেশন বিলাক আনিবলৈ এই কাৰণে ট্ৰাই কৰোঁ বিকজ এই যোনটো টপিক হয় ফৰ এক্সাম্পল টুডেজ টপিক ফৰ দ্য লাইভ সেশন ইজ কনজিউমাৰ্ছ ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম আৰু কনজিউমাৰ্ছ ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম আমি ইন কেছ অফ আ ছিংগল কমোডিটি পঢ়িবৰ কাৰণে ট্ৰাই কৰিম ৰাইট চ' this is actually a topic from our microeconomics, introductory microeconomics books, which will be important for your class 11th examination. But saying that, ami enekwa dhoroner topic kihor karone live session ot loi ahu, it is because these kind of topics are not only limited to the students of class 11th who will be appearing for class 11th board examination across different board, but also important for any of the examination that requires economics in their syllabus. Junbur porikhat economics syllabus ot ahe tat tumi consumer equilibrium or question of course paba. Gotike ami enekwa dhoroner topic ei karone loi ahisu because so that these kind of topics become easier for you. These type of topics become easier for you. বুজি পাইছা তোমালোকে CUET দিছা ইকোনমিক্সত UG হ'ব পাৰে PG হ'ব পাৰে নেট দিছা ইকোনমিক্সত তো ফৰ এভৰি এক্সামিনেশ্যন ইনফেক্ট তোমালোকে যদি এনি কাইণ্ড অফ চিভিল ছাৰ্ভিচ এক্সামিনেশ্যন দিছা আৰু ইকনমিক্সৰ পাৰ্টত এপাৰ্ট ফ্ৰম ইণ্ডিয়ান ইকনমি এগেইন মাইক্ৰ' ইকনমিক্স এণ্ড মেক্ৰ' ইকনমিক্স প্লেজ এন ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট ৰোল গতিকে এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ লাইভ ছেশ্যনবিলাক বহুত ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট হয় তোমালোকৰ কাৰণে আমি freely এই sessionsবিলাক কৰি আছোঁ so do join and benefit as much as possible from these live session. So let's start today's class with great zeal and enthusiasm and learn from consumers equilibrium in case of single commodity. Let us know এই দুটা শব্দ যদি আমি কওঁ consumers equilibrium consumer মানে কি হয় consumer মানে এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ এজন গ্ৰাহক হয় নে নাই যোনজন পাৰ্সনে আৰু যোনজন ইন্ডিভিজুৱেলে যিকোনো এটা সামগ্ৰী বা বস্তু কি কৰে ক্ৰয় কৰে বা বস্তু কিনে right that is said to be as a consumer আৰু commodity equilibrium মানে কি হয় equilibrium মানে এনেকুৱা এটা পজিশন যোনটো পজিশনৰ পৰা এজন মানুহৰ মুভ হ'ব কাৰণে ইচ্ছা নাথাকে তাৰ মানে এনেকুৱা এটা সিচুৱেশন এনেকুৱা এটা পজিশন which is the highest position for an individual তাৰে পৰা মানুহজনে maximum সব বস্তু পাই আছে and therefore he does not have the requirement or does not have any want to change that position বুজি পাইছা গতিকে ইয়াতে কনজিউমাৰ্ছ ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়ামত আমি পঢ়িম যে কি কোনটো পইণ্টত কনজিউমাৰে নিজৰ ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম বা মেক্সিমাম পজিশ্যনটো পাব সেই বিষয়ে আমি পঢ়িম so let's start with understanding what is consumers equilibrium first and then we will understand how consumers equilibrium can be calculated in case of a single commodity ঠিক আছে so what is consumers equilibrium refers to that position or that situation or that point যোনটো পইণ্টত বা যোনটো সিচুৱেশ্যনত কনজিউমাৰে ম্যাক্সিমাম স্যাটিসফ্যাকশন পাই আছে যোনটো সিচুৱেশ্যনত consumer maximum satisfaction পাই আছে এতিয়া when I say consumers equilibrium is a situation jot consumer is making maximum satisfaction this is not the whole criteria itself this is not the only criteria itself maximum satisfaction পাব লাগিব but minimum পইচা খৰচ কৰি তামানে তেওঁৰ limited income খৰচ কৰি with the limited income if a person is making maximum satisfaction with limited income if a person or individual is making maximum satisfaction and has no tendency to change that situation or change that position or the existing way of expenditure then the person is said to be as in consumers equilibrium tamane ejon individual jetia maximum satisfaction pai ase বুজি পাইছা কোৰ পৰা পাই আছে with his limited income তেওঁৰ যিমান limited income আছে তাৰ পৰা maximum satisfaction পাই আছে আৰু তেওঁৰ যোনটো existing পইচা খৰচ কৰাৰ যোনটো ৱে হয় হেতু তেও চেঞ্জ কৰিব খোজা নাই উইদাউট হেভিং এনি টেন্ডেন্সি টু চেঞ্জ হিজ এক্সিষ্টিং ৱে অফ এক্সপেণ্ডিচাৰ ইট ইজ সেড টু বি এজ কনজিউমাৰ্ছ ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম আই হোপ ইউ আৰ ক্লিয়াৰ টিল দিছ মাচ ঠিক আছে fine now the main importance or the main significance of today's class is that ami consumers equilibrium porhim but in case of a single commodity porhim next class ot hoyto ami consumers equilibrium in case of in case of double commodity or two commodities ami loi ahim so when we study consumers equilibrium we study consumers equilibrium under two different situation one situation is that when consumer spends his entire income on a single commodity tamane ejon consumer ase consumer e tior jiman khini income ase he income khini okol eta commodity te spend kori dia suppose x ঠিক আছে হেতু এটা সিচুৱেশন হয় হেতু সিচুৱেশনত এই কনজিউমাৰ জনে কোনটো পজিশনত ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম আহি পাব কোনটো পজিশনত ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম আহি পাব আমি হেতু পঢ়িম ঠিক আছে কোনটো পজিশনত আহিলে আমাৰ ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম আহি পাব আমি হেতু পঢ়িম নেক্সটটো হৈছে যে কনজিউমাৰ্ছ ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম ইন কেছ অফ টু কমোডিটিজ যেতিয়া এজন কনজিউমাৰে স্পেন্ডছ হিজ এণ্টায়াৰ ইনকাম নট অনলি অন ছিংগল কমোডিটি বাট ইন কেছ অফ টু কমোডিটি তেওঁৰ যিমান ইনকাম আছে তেওঁ দুটা কমোডিটি এক্স আৰু ৱাইৰ মাজত ভাগ কৰি পেলাই বা ডিভাইড কৰি পেলাই স্পেন্ড কৰে ঠিক আছে হেনেকুৱা এজন কনজিউমাৰৰ ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম পজিশন কেনেকৈ আমি attain কৰিব পাৰিম সেই কথাটো আমি পঢ়িম গতিকে when we study consumers equilibrium is studied in case of two situation when the consumer spends the entire income on a single commodity or when the consumer spends the entire income on two commodities I hope you are clear till this much in today's class we'll be limited to understanding consumers equilibrium in case of single commodity ঠিক আছে so consumers equilibrium in case of single commodity ami law of DMU to use koribo paru already ami porhaisu what is law of DMU law of diminishing marginal utility je as and when we consume more and more commodities the additional satisfaction or utility derived from each commodity each additional or extra commodity goes on decreasing hoine it finally falls and in fact becomes negative right so law of DMU through re ami actually consumers equilibrium in case of single commodity to bujabo karone parim buli kobo pari a consumer purchasing a single commodity tamane as on consumer who is purchasing a single commodity for example x will be at equilibrium kitia when he will be able to buy such a quantity of that commodity which gives him what maximum satisfaction tamane a consumer june eta single commodity purchase kori ase he consumer jone kitia equilibrium position goi pabo jetia hei commodity to purchase kori pelai teo maximum satisfaction paise so when will he get maximum satisfaction actually swa the number of units to be consumed tamane yate he jiman khini quantity of commodity consume korise tare pora teo maximum satisfaction derive koribo lagibo etia teo kiman khini commodity consume koribo teo how many units will the individual or the consumer consume again depends upon two factors what are the two factors one is price of the given commodity the commodity that the consumer will be buying tar price kiman hoy and next to is expected marginal utility from each successive unit marginal utility mane ki hoy additional utility derived from consumption of successive unit of the same commodity and that should be again taking place within the same time right gotike yate ki koise je ejon consumer consuming a single commodity will be in a position or situation of equilibrium when he or she purchasing a certain amount of commodity gets maximum satisfaction. Now what determines him buying a certain amount of commodity? It depends upon the price of the given commodity and also expected marginal utility from each successive unit. ঠিক আছে price আৰু marginal utility ৰ ওপৰত ডিপেন্ড কৰে এজন কনজিউমাৰে কিমানখিনি পাৰচেজ কৰিব ঠিক আছে okay Now given this কি কৈছে to determine the equilibrium point consumer compares therefore the price of the given commodity with its utility গতিকে কিমানখিনি বস্তু এজন কনজিউমাৰে পাৰচেজ কৰিব কিমানখিনি so কিমানখিনি units of goods এজন কনজিউমাৰে পাৰচেজ কৰিব again for that decision the consumer compares two things one is that আমি অলৰেডি ক'লো price of that given commodity টোৰ লগত কম্পেয়াৰ কৰিব যে কি এটা গুডৰ পৰা তেওঁ কিমানখিনি ইউটিলিটি ডেৰাইভ কৰি আছে যদি প্ৰাইচ কম হয় ইউটিলিটি বেছি ডেৰাইভ কৰি আছে তেনেহ'লে ইউ উইল পাৰচেজ মোৰ যদি প্ৰাইচ বেছি হয় ইউটিলিটি কম হয় তেনেহ'লেও তেওঁ কমকৈ পাৰচেজ কৰিব so to determine the equilibrium point the consumer basically compares the price of the given commodity with the utility that it will derive from being a rational consumer he will be at equilibrium when the marginal utility is equal to price paid for that commodity fine গতিকে এজন কনজিউমাৰ ইকনমিক্সত আমি কি বুলি ধৰো এজন কনজিউমাৰ তোমাৰ ৰেশনাল কনজিউমাৰ হয় so given a rational consumer the consumer will be in equilibrium at that position য'ত price of the commodity যোনটো x যদি purchase কৰি আছে is equal to marginal utility of that commodity ঠিক আছে and we also know আমি already জানো এটো কথা পঢ়িছো যে কি marginal utility expressed in utils and price is expressed in money marginal utility কিহত মেজার কৰো আমি utilsত মেজার কৰো price কিহত মেজার কৰো in terms of money however marginal utility and price can be effectively compared when they are stated in the same units ঠিক আছে গটিকে ইয়াতে marginal utility is again expressed in terms of money তামানে আমাক যে খৰুতে আমি পঢ়িছিলো যে কি আমি কিলোমিটাৰৰ লগত আমি লিটাৰ কেনেকে কিলোমিটাৰৰ লগত লিটাৰ আমি কেনেকে কম্পেয়াৰ কৰিম নোৱাৰি এটা হৈছে তোমাৰ ডিসটেন্সৰ এটা হৈছে তোমাৰ ভলিউমৰ ইউনিট হয় গটিকে দুটাৰে মাজত কম্পেয়াৰ কৰিব কাৰণে আমি লিটাৰ টু ইডাৰ কিলোমিটাৰলৈ কনভাৰ্ট কৰি ল'ব লাগিব নাইবাই কিলোমিটাৰ টু লিটাৰলৈ কনভাৰ্ট কৰি ল'ব লাগিব সো যেহেতু আমি দেখিছো যে প্ৰাইস আৰু মাৰ্জিনাল ইউটিলিটি দুটাই can be expressed in different units which are not same price in terms of money marginal utility in terms of money therefore it will not be comparable ami kobo nwarim je ki consumer kuntu point ot rational consumer kuntu point ot maximum satisfaction pabo until and unless we do not convert them in terms of same units gotike ami ki koru marginal utility to in terms of money ami convert kori diu keneke marginal utility in terms of money keneke koribo parim ami marginal utility junkhini paisu in utils divided by marginal utility of money বা marginal utility of 1 rupee di divide kori dile ami marginal utility in terms of money paijam marginal utility in terms of money paijam thik ase so mu of 1 rupee is the extra utility obtained when an additional rupee is spent on other goods tamane what is MUM now what is marginal utility of money it refers to but what is marginal utility of 1 rupee it means when we spend one additional rupee tar pra ami kiman khini extra utility derive kori asu fine I hope you are clear till this much now when we convert marginal utility in terms of money price is also in terms of money we both can compare these two thik ase given this the equilibrium condition for a consumer to achieve equilibrium position in case of a single commodity is given by when marginal utility of commodity X is equal to price of commodity X. A rational consumer consuming a single commodity where he is spending his entire income on a single commodity will be in equilibrium at that point where marginal utility of X is equal to price of X. ঠিক আছে I hope you are clear till this much ঠিক আছে let's move to the next slide where we will know the why marginal utility of X is equal to price of X is considered to be the only equilibrium condition why it is considered to be the only equilibrium condition can't there be any other condition apart from that where the consumer can maximize his or her utility suppose what happens when marginal utility of X is greater than price of X but what happens when marginal utility of X is less than price of X ঠিক আছে তাৰমানে ই কি কৈ আছে মাৰ্জিনেল ইউটিলিটি অফ এক্স ইজ গ্ৰেটাৰ দেন প্ৰাইচ অফ এক্স মানে কি ইয়াতে তুমি ইউটিলিটি যিমানখিনি পাই আছা হয়নে বা তুমি বেনিফিট যিমানখিনি পাই আছা ইট ইজ মোৰ দেন কষ্ট it is more than cost right তুমি benefit বেছিকে পাই আছা cost কমকে দিব লাগা হৈ আছে তাৰমানে you are not still in the equilibrium position you still wants to be in a higher position where you are getting more and more utility and paying less fine so let us understand what happens when price of x is equal when marginal utility of x is greater than price of x then the consumer is not in equilibrium because he goes on buying মই তোমালোকক কলো নহয় যেটো কনজিউমাৰ জনে বেনিফিট বেছিকে পাই আছে ইউটিলিটি বেছিকে পাই আছে আৰু কমকে পইচা দিব লাগা হৈ আছে therefore he or she will not go on purchasing commodities he or she will not go he or she will not settle down in one position he or she will continue purchasing the commodities fine গটিকে কি কৈছে যে কি যেতিয়া কনজিউমাৰ এটা এনেকুৱা ধৰণৰ পজিশনত থাকে যত বেনিফিট বেছিকে পাই আছে বা ইউটিলিটি বেছিকে পাই আছে পইচা কমকে দিব লাগা হৈ আছে he or she will not settle down in an equilibrium position because that consumer will be trying to purchase more and more of commodities because কিহৰ কাৰণে মই অলৰেডি কৈছো benefit is greater than cost because why benefit is greater than cost kintu until when he will keep on purchasing more and more of good x until karon jimane x kini goi thakibo marginal utility derived from purchasing of x will go on falling because of what law of diminishing marginal utility gotike eta enekwa samoy ahibo je ki marginal utility juntu বহুত বেছি হৈ আছে will fall and will become equal to price of x so at that position when marginal utility will be equal to price of x the consumer will stop purchasing more and more goods and therefore will be in equilibrium so what can we say is that when marginal utility of x is greater than price of x where the consumer is getting more utility or benefit than cost of purchasing it he or she will be purchasing more and more goods and therefore will not be in equilibrium position but until when the consumer will purchase more and more goods it will purchase more and more goods until marginal utility falls because as a consumer purchase more and more of x the marginal utility derived from successive unit of x will fall and until and unless it falls and becomes equal to price of x the consumer will buy more of x so ketialeke purchase koribo jetialeke marginal utility fall hoi pelai e price of x or logot equal hoi jay and the equilibrium is established I hope you are clear till this much now what happens in the opposite situation or what happens when price of x is more than marginal utility of x it means yar pra tumi utility ba benefit ইয়াৰে পৰা তুমি ইউটিলিটি বা বেনিফিট কমকে পাই আছা বাট কষ্ট তুমি বেছিকে দিব but you are bearing a larger cost right but you are bearing a larger cost from it এজন ৰেচনেল কনজিউমাৰে যেতিয়া বেছিকে পে কৰিব লাগা হৈ আছে then from what the benefit he or she is getting he or she will stop purchasing right so then the consumer will not be at equilibrium because he will have to reduce consumption of the commodity x jetia he x basically consume nokoribo his kitialake he yate ki hobo he will not be in an equilibrium position because he will not purchase any of the commodity x because while he is buying commodity x he is paying more than what he is receiving in terms of benefit right so in such a situation ki hobo in such a situation the consumer will try to reduce his consumption but until when until his total tumar satisfaction hoine until his total satisfaction raises till the marginal utility becomes equal to price jetialake teo total jimankhini satisfaction receive kore hekhini rise hoi na jay until marginal utility is equal to price of x ta mane ketialake teo x consume kora bondho kori mane ketialake teo x কনজিউম নকৰিবা বা কেতিয়ালৈকে তেওঁ এক্স কনজিউম কৰা বন্ধ কৰিব যেতিয়ালৈকে মাৰ্জিনেল ইউটিলিটি অফ এক্স বিকামছ ইকুৱেল টু প্ৰাইচ অফ এক্স এণ্ড দ্য ইকুইলিব্ৰিয়াম ইজ এষ্টাব্লিছ গতিকে আমি ক'ব পাৰোঁ যে regardless of what the situation is, whether marginal utility can be greater than the price of x or whether the marginal utility can be less than the price of x, the end result is that the consumer will not be in equilibrium in any of the two situations until and unless a rational and equilibrium situation like this where marginal utility of x is equal to price of x is established. I hope you are clear till this much. I hope you are clear till this much. So, this was all about marginal utility in terms of single commodity. ठीक है? So, this was the first situation that we have already learned. Zeki, the first situation or the first case in which a consumer spending his entire income on a single commodity reaches his equilibrium position is marginal utility of x should be equal to price of x. After that also there is second condition. The second condition is that marginal utility falls as consumption increases. Marginal utility falls as consumption increases. When we consume more and more of x, the marginal utility derived from additional consumption of x, the marginal utility from successive unit of x goes on decreasing. Kihor karne? Due to operation of law of DMU. So, because of this condition only, the first condition actually gets satisfied. So, on the basis of these two situations, Zeki, number one, marginal utility of x should be equal to price of x. Number two is that marginal utility falls. Marginal utility of x falls when more and more of x is consumed. Given these two situations, a consumer attains his or her equilibrium position consuming a single commodity or while spending his entire income on a single commodity. ठीक है? I hope you are clear till this much. ঠিক আছে? So, consumers equilibrium in case of single commodity আমি through a table and a diagram explain কৰিব পাৰিম কেনেকে সোৱা ইয়াতে units of x দিয়া আছে 1 2 3 4 5 price of x দিয়া আছে 10 10 10 10 price আমি same বুলি ধৰি লৈছো marginal utility আমি দেখিছো যে কি marginal utility fall হৈ গৈছে এটা সময়ত গৈ marginal utility 0 হৈ যায় and beyond that আমি already বুজাইছো যে beyond that marginal utility তোমাৰ negative হৈ যায় ঠিক আছে তাৰ পিছত আমি এইটো marginal utility in terms of utils দিয়া আছে আমি কি কৰিব লাগিব marginal utility in terms of money লেকে convert কৰি লব পাৰ লাগিব because price or লগত marginal utility convert মানে compare কৰিব কাৰণে marginal utility should also be expressed in terms of money. So next আমি কি কৰি লব লাগিব marginal utility of x in terms of money আমি উলাই লব লাগিব যত 1 util is equal to 1 rupee. আমি কেনেকে উলাম just ইয়াক divided by 1 কৰি দিব লাগিব because আমি এটা util equal to 1 rupee বুলি ধৰিছো therefore each divided by আমাৰ 1 rupee. ঠিক আছে so 20 16 10 4 0 6 ঠিক আছে আমি এনেকে MUX টো পাম তাৰপিছত আমি ডিফাৰেন্স বিটুইন MUX আৰু প্ৰাইস অফ x উলাম কেনেকে উলাম যে কি প্ৰাইস অফ x এটো 10 20 সো 20 - 10 ডিফাৰেন্স 10 হয় দেন তোমাৰ 16 - 10 ডিফাৰেন্স 6 হয় 10 - 10 0 হয় 4 - 10 -6 হয় তাৰপিছত 0 - 10 10 হয় দেন -6 -6 again -10 it will be +16 so what you see is the difference between MUX and price of x is shown in this column. ठीक है? Now we will find the remarks. There are points or there are 3 points where there are points where at some point marginal utility will be more than price of x. There will be points where marginal utility will be less than price of x and there are points where marginal utility is exactly equal to price of x where equilibrium point is established. So yate jodi swa what is happening is price of x is equal to greater than marginal utility so marginal utility wait let me rub this ঠিক আছে so here you see is that যে কি marginal utility of x is greater than price of x marginal utility of x is equal to price of x আৰু ইয়াতে কি লিখিছো price of x is greater than marginal utility of x. So yat ami ki paiso ei jonto situation paiso je ki marginal utility of x is greater than price of x jot basic benefit pai ase and then cost, and therefore the consumer will not be in equilibrium and therefore purchase more and more until each successive unit gives lesser and lesser marginal utility derived from successive units of commodities of x, and marginal utility does not become equals to it becomes equals to price of x. ঠিক আছে, sorry. Next হৈছে তোমাৰ equilibrium position য'ত MUX will be equal to price of x. After that তোমাৰ কি হ'ব যে marginal utility of x is less than price of x. ঠিক আছে, in this situation কি হ'ব, a consumer will not be purchasing any unit of x until and unless his total satisfaction gets maximized when marginal utility is equal to price of x. ঠিক আছে, this can be also represented through a diagram. So diagrammatically আমি কি দেখিছো, consumers equilibrium in case of single commodity, price line da amar ki ho, price line da amar ki hobo, horizontal to x axis hobo, ঠিক আছে, because it remains fixed regardless hoy ne. Then amar jontu marginal utility curve hoy hedal tomar ki hobo, downward sloping curve hobo, at one point it becomes 0 and after further consumption it becomes negative. When does the equilibrium take place? Its equilibrium take place at that point jot marginal cost curve, marginal utility curve dale tomar price curve dalot intersect korise, jonto amar case ot kuntu hoy at point E. Therefore this is the position of consumers equilibrium. ঠিক আছে, এইটো পইণ্টত কি হৈছে, marginal utility is 0 আৰু য'ত marginal utility is 0 it is said to be as point of satiety, মানে ইয়াত তেওঁৰ যিমান satisfaction পাব লগা আছে এজন কনজিউমাৰে ডেৰাইভ কৰি দিছে, there will be no position of further satisfaction derived from additional consumption of commodity. ঠিক আছে, so when you draw the marginal utility curve it is a downward sloping curve হয়নে, become 0 at some point and further consumption leads to its negative হয়নে marginal utility. আৰু আমি কি দেখিছো যে কি ইয়াত at that point য'ত marginal utility curve ডালে price of x curve ডালত intersect কৰি আছে, at that point the consumer's equilibrium is established. Fine, I hope you are clear. I hope you are clear when you will be asked to actually explain consumer's equilibrium with the help of diagram or with the help of a table, you can use this slide to do so. ঠিক আছে, so almost we are wrapping up, but before wrapping up what we have come to know is that a consumer spending his entire income in a single commodity will be in equilibrium when marginal utility of x is equal to price of x and the marginal utility goes on decreasing, successive marginal utility derived from successive unit of a commodity hoine goes on decreasing as a result of operation of law of DMU. When these two conditions satisfies, a consumer consuming only a single commodity reaches its equilibrium position from which it is deriving maximum satisfaction. ঠিক আছে, thank you so much for joining me in today's class. In case of any doubt please feel free to get in touch with us. আমি তোমালোকক সেই ডাউটবিলাক সলভ কৰিবৰ কাৰণে ট্ৰাই কৰিম, তোমালোকে কমেণ্ট বক্সত লিখি দিবা আৰু আমি সেইখিনি তোমালোকৰ যিখিনি ডাউট আছে সেইখিনি সলভ কৰিবৰ কাৰণে ট্ৰাই কৰিম. Thank you so much for joining me in today's live session. We will meet in the next live session in next week. Until then, take care. Bye bye.